Kelliane Parker is a queer Latinx poet whose chapbook Down the Foggy Streets of My Mind from Nomadic Press is about her healing journey living with dissociative identity disorder. Her mission is to remove stigma and shame around survivorship and de-pathologize talk about mental health. Kelliane has been featured in numerous anthologies, including the Colossus series and Light on the Walls of Life, a tribute anthology to Lawrence Ferlinghetti. She is a regular feature at Bay Area Readings. Please welcome Kelliane Parker.
Thank you so much. I am very happy to be here and very happy to be featuring with both Dee Allen and Kimmy Sugioka. And thank you, Sandy. You have a wonderful series going, and it is such a delight and an honor to be invited here. So thank you. I'm going to read both from my chapbook, Down the Foggy Streets of My Mind, as well as a couple of pieces from a couple of anthologies, including the Light on the Walls of Life, the Lawrence Ferlinghetti tribute anthology. But first, I'm going to take about 44 seconds, it seems like that's how much it takes me, to do my public service announcement about mental health. And that is, according to the World Health Organization, 25% of the global population lives with mental illness or addiction, and we don't talk about it. So that's what I do. I talk about it. My book, Down the Foggy Streets of My Mind, is about living with dissociative identity disorder, which when I was diagnosed 30 years ago, was still called multiple personality disorder. And so I think it's really important that, you know, if it's not you, it's someone in your life. 25% of the world means that every one of us has someone that we love who is touched by this. And my goal is to take away the fear and misinformation. Most of us are not scary or unstable. We just have a lot that we've been through. So thank you for my commercial. And the first poem I like to read is a little bit about who I am. And this poem is called What You Call Home. They say you can never go back home, and for me, that's really true. For me, for home to me was a place, not a person, a humble, modest, living person. Her name was Lupe Teresa Mesa, mi abuelita, my grandmother, for whom my daughter's middle name is Lupita, the woman who prayed the rosary and walked everywhere, who taught ESL and volunteered at church and library. She said she was the richest woman in the world and meant it. Not rich in things, as a widow who raised her children and orphan nephews, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Panorama City, perfect for a family of 14. A house full of happy noises, the sound of guitars and song, of poetry read, a crowd of people bursting out of every room, all busy following their passions. Heated political debates in the living room, cooking and laughter in the kitchen, all orbiting this tiny center of our universe. She kept me from floating into nothingness. She tethered me to earth. I thought her strong and solid and permanent. Had I known how tenuous it was, I would have skipped work for one more chance to sit at her kitchen table, her altar of magic, where a cup of tea and stories of family and folklore would transport me like a magic carpet ride. And I cling to any trace of her like rose-scented lotion, hold her rosary, the one with the tiny magnified picture of Nuestra Señora for whom she was named. And now I grasp at any detail like the sound of her laugh, to will back the feel of her hands clasping mine. I close my eyes and I smell hibiscus flowers and taste their nectar. Imagine the cactus that climb the stucco and the hummingbirds that nested there, the giant oak tree I used to climb and the parrots that roosted there, and the lone cockatoo who would rather be a parrot than be alone. How they would circle at dusk and settle in the tree and make such a ruckus. The neighbors weren't fans, but she loved them, so I did too. I remember how they fell instantly silent when the sun went down, like the flick of a light switch. And now that switch has darkened the window and obscured my view from the person for whom I once called home. And this next piece is called Instructions to Insulate from Moonlight. This poem is about what it's like to live with dissociation. Wear malachite, drink hawthorn berries, prepare for the next cycle in the infinite loop, and remember to breathe as the sun starts to fade and paints clouds from below while anxiety grows into a flower named dread. Snapping photos to steal light which I hide in my pocket to later conjure safety, but land eludes me. And I began pacing in a rhythm. This is the dance of my culture. This is the dance of my youth. And my feet lift off the ground. And so I float and spin with no handhold in sight, no means to make it stop until I'm swept up in the current. And the images come first like Super 8 flash hypersensory to desensory fog that tastes of bile and rot. And it slowly slows the nauseating, spinning, rapid flipping, familiar state of dissociation, a familiar task that evade me like opening doors. And so I wait before them until memory returns. And after running from this burning building of a body, avoiding mirrors to evade the reflection of the wild-eyed animal eye shine, of the familiar and the totem, and then nothing. Then the nothing, the familiar nothing, weighty blanket of nothing, and I return, time lost, but grateful. I've survived another until the next full moon. And this next piece is from Light on the Walls of Life. It is my Ode to City Lights, and that's what it's called. And Ode to City Lights. On my first visit, I was greeted like a neighbor. In this iconic place of giants enters the daughter of a library clerk. My mother taught me how to cook, but she nourished me with books. Played hide and seek in the stacks of LA Maine before the quakes. The perfect backstage pass for the daughter of a library clerk. Here the books recognized me, remembered me who wooed them into my bed, caressed their covers beneath the covers, pressed my nose near their spine and breathed them in. Writer, exposed and waiting, imploring love me or want me. And I say, yes, yes. I need you. I need to feel alive again. I need to feel agony, angry, and heartbroken. I want to grieve and seethe and rage. I crave ecstasy, joy, and belonging. I want to hold your heavy words, just see them, hear them, feel them. I want to smell and taste them, swallow them. The books have not forgotten this kindness, this intimacy, this mercy. I wander through rows and rows, running finger-long titles, speak their names aloud, and they seduce me, make me stop and ask if I want to go back to my place. The ones that dangle that perfect heartbreaking line, that sharp aphrodisiac edge that always leads to something. Literature love being lightly stroked with fingertips. Nonfiction like to be roughly gripped tight. The novels, biographies, and art books all in need. And when we were done and satiated, we moved on, but nod and acknowledge in passing. But the poetry, the poets. I love them again and again, aching for the flood of pain pleasure as I roll my tongue around their words over and over again, committing words to memory by cutting into flesh and then held hostage to my shelves to relive the delicious sting of the moment, just rereading down their spine. And I think I have time for a couple more. I'm going to read, let me grab it real quick. It's harder to do it in a book. But I'm going to read this. Change my mind. This is called Shipwreck, a survivor story. What speaks of heart fatigue, a heaviness too much to carry, a burden of tired ventricles, a slowing beat, softer, quieter, a minimal compliancy that qualifies as life, but perhaps not living, of heaving to higher ground and thrashing through angry surf to exhaust, collapse to a faraway slumber, despite the pummel of wave after wave. Many stay here, this soft sand bedding, this place above drowning, offers very little comfort most would recognize, but to those of us who feel safer in the elements, relaxed in danger's proximity would paint our paradise in the color of a bruise, purple, green, and red, and the ugly yellow of an arnica bath drawn by an imaginary love that promises healing, with a soft voice and loving arms, and instead, we eat our crumbs, grateful, and drink the salty waves of our tears, send our SOSs to no one, and repeat the mantra, I'm fine, I'm fine. Occasionally, we open our eyes, and in the sunlight, we see above shore, see the quiet forest beyond, push our heart-weary selves up, and move beyond this place. I'm going to read this, and Dan told me to put it in the book, so it did. So here we go. This is called What Kind of Magic? What could make beauty appear in an oasis, a mirage? What kind of spell could turn a desert green, dense, aquatic, and lush? What trick of the eye could make you see the future, sensual and sensing? How long does a tree have to wait for the rain before its green turns gray? And if a heart is full of a different love, does it struggle with the beat? And what if we chase hunger but are dying of thirst while a river at our feet? Could hunger be a language primal? A baby cries, a hunter yells, and we feed until our stomachs are full, but our hearts and souls echo the loneliness and emptiness of a forgotten and desolate place, of loose gravel and unsteady footing, of the winds of disorientation, of the fragility of being lost, of the knowing that no one is searching, or maybe one tiny light, with no promise or certainty, just company on an unmapped journey, just I see you, do you see me? And what if we agreed to walk a while and talk a while, fellow travelers on this short road? And if one had the need to feed, could take another trail, a trail to feast until satiated and return to this road ready to drink. And I'll finish with one of my favorite poems. This is a very old piece, and it's very comforting for me. It's called Solitude. I find comfort in solitude. It's misunderstood and often mistaken for loneliness. It is not the same. Loneliness is a vacant crater. Solitude is different. Quiet conversation with yourself, being alone but not feeling alone. Comfortable quiet, where the outspoken word is unwelcome and would shatter the calm stillness. Quiet as its own language, one understood only by the speaker listener as one and the same, one's own true first language. I speak it well and do not pass it on to others. The part of me that's not shared, spoken here in the code of poetry, seen, not felt by others as they would see their green and not mine. Practice your language, for therein lies all answers, answers true and just, as if given to you by some higher power, and perhaps it is. Quiet conversations with you and your God. Some call it conscience, others inner self. Call it what you like. I have my own name, and I keep it to myself. Thank you.